All right, so this is this Pakistani airbase was double tapped. I don't know what they mean by double tapped. By India, Apple Map confirms. Oh, this is from Operation Sindoor. So okay, this is just like what was actually the impact that was done.
What you are looking at is not just a satellite image, it is the forensic evidence of a
Hello,
modern military
hello.
checkmate. We are staring directly at the PAF Shahbaz Airbase in Jacobabad, Sindh, a facility that was once the crown jewel of the Pakistan Air Force's Southern Command, housing their most advanced F-16 Block 52 fighter jets. But thanks to updated high-resolution imagery from Apple Maps in 2026, the fog of war has finally.
It's funny. Apple Maps. Yeah, it's okay to say Google Maps. Everyone knows Apple uses the same software, pays Google for their software. Everybody knows this. It's okay to say Google Maps. No one's gonna be offended.
Lifted, revealing the terrifying precision of India's Operation Sindoor. For months, the world speculated about the extent of the damage inflicted during the May 2025 airstrikes. Islamabad claimed the damage was superficial.
Yeah. I remember they went out on a report saying, oh, it was non-existent. The damage, there was really no damage. Nothing was really done.
Images tell the true story of a calculated surgical decapitation of Pakistan's air power, specifically highlighting a tactical masterstroke known in military circles as a double tap. Look closely at the red arrow in the imagery. That is not a runway, that is not an ammo dump, that is the energy center of the airbase. To the untrained eye, it looks like just another support building with a hole in the roof. To a military strategist, that hole represents the complete paralysis of a multi-billion-dollar military asset. Let's break down exactly why India chose to put a precision-guided munition through the roof of this specific building and why this single strike forced the Pakistani military establishment to beg for a ceasefire just hours later. In modern aerial warfare, we often focus on the destruction of runways. We think that if you bomb the tarmac, the jets can't take off. But
Nope.
runways can be repaired in hours using quick dry.
You have to take down the guidance. You have to take down the infrastructure to prevent them from communicating and knowing what's in the air to begin with. You have to prevent them from having eyes on the ground, basically.
Concrete and prefabricated mats. A runway kill is temporary. India was not looking for a temporary delay, they were looking for a mission kill. They wanted to turn PAF Shahbaz from a lethal launch pad into a graveyard of avionics. And the way you do that is by severing the nervous system of the base, the energy center. PAF Shahbaz is located in Jacobabad, one of the hottest places on earth. Summer temperatures here regularly exceed 50 degrees Celsius. This geographic fact is the base's greatest weakness. The F-16 Fighting Falcons, specifically the advanced Block 52 variants housed here, are incredibly sensitive machines. Their avionics, radar systems, and electronic warfare suites require strict climate control. You cannot leave a fourth-generation fighter jet baking in the Sindh desert heat without active.
So all the fighter jets were destroyed because they could no longer take off the ground. That's just perfect. So because if they just destroyed the tarmac, they would use make something real quick to just move the fighter jet somewhere else, land it somewhere else, and leave it. But leaving it to just sit in the sun and completely toast the because it's just metal. It's metal. The whole thing's heating up, especially in 50 degrees Celsius. It's an oven on the inside. Everything's going to start to melt.
The delicate electronics will degrade, seals will dry out, and the calibration of targeting computers will drift. By destroying the energy center, the Indian Air Force didn't just turn off the lights, they killed the base's industrial HVAC systems. They killed the power to the hardened aircraft shelters. In an instant, the internal temperature of those hangars began to spike. Without power, the humidity control fails. The result, the fleet of F-16 sitting inside didn't need to be blown up individually. They were effectively grounded by heat and dust. India neutralized an entire squadron without scratching the paint on a single aircraft, simply by removing the environment required to keep them alive. But the implications go deeper than just air conditioning.
See, I like this. I like this because Pakistan was targeting like an actual airport, not a military facility, an airport. Because I remember when this was on the news, because it was just like, oh, because India kept stopping all the attacks coming, and then finally India attacked back, and then on the news it was like India struck an airbase, and then Pakistan's all basically saying, oh, it wasn't that serious, it's nothing big, it's something very small. Yeah, of course. It is a very small. All you have to do is take out a small thing and the entire thing goes down.
An airbase like Shabaz is a complex industrial machine. It relies on a centralized power grid to run fuel pumps. You can have millions of gallons of jet fuel in underground storage tanks, but if the high pressure pumps in the energy center are a pile of twisted metal, that fuel is stuck underground. You cannot refuel a jet with a bucket. By taking out the power source, India ensured that even if a jet could taxi to the runway, it couldn't fill its tanks. They severed the logistical artery of the base. Furthermore, consider the command and control aspect. The air traffic control tower, the radar processing units, and the secure communication lines all feed off this central energy hub. When that munition penetrated the roof, likely a Spice 2000 or a Crystal Maze missile, it didn't just blow up a generator, it caused a cascading electrical failure across the entire base. Backup generators exist, yes, but they are designed for emergency lighting and critical comms, not for sustaining the industrial scale operations of a wartime airbase.
They're there to be able to last for probably an hour, 2 hours as they fix the actual power problem. And then you refill the generators after the fact. They cannot sustain it for hours, days on end.
The repair facilities, the hydraulic lifts, the diagnostic computers used to prep missiles, all of them went down. This brings us to the double tap visible in the imagery. You see the damage to the main hangar in the adjacent frames, and then you see the strike on the energy center. This confirms that the Indian planners knew exactly what they were doing. The strike on the hangar was likely to trap assets inside or destroy high-value maintenance equipment. The strike on the
Like I said, they had information. They always have information. Always the intelligence agencies always have actual information. And there's nothing wrong with them having that kind of information. You never want your national secrets spilled to the other nation. Like, I'm absolutely okay with the fact that the U.S. knew that the drug boats were being sent to the U.S. from Venezuela and then bombing them in sea. I'm absolutely, because I just believe that, of course, they knew. Our intelligence agency is not going to tell the people, because then it's reverse engineered and then they change up how they do things. Every nation does the same, where they find out, they have people on the ground, they know everything, and then they decide to just slowly take care of it.
The energy center was the insurance policy. It ensured that whatever survived the hangar strike would still be non-operational. It creates a chaos scenario for the base commander. Do you use your limited engineering resources to clear the runway, to fix the hangar roof, or to try and rewire the entire base because your main transformers are slagged? You cannot do all three at once. The base is paralyzed by the sheer complexity of the disaster. Now let's address the strategic intent. Why did India do this? The intelligence picture leading up to Operation Sindoor suggested that PAF Shahbaz was being prepped for a massive offensive. Satellite monitoring would have shown increased activity, fuel trucks moving, munitions being dollied out of bunkers, pilots on standby. Pakistan was likely planning a preemptive strike of their own, using the F-16s at Jacobabad to launch standoff weapons against Indian positions in Gujarat or Rajasthan. India's response was a classic preemptive denial of service. They didn't wait for the Pakistani jets to get airborne. They didn't wait for a dogfight over the border. They reached out and strangled the threat in its cradle. By hitting the base just hours before the suspected Pakistani launch window, India rendered the enemy force combat ineffective before a single turbine could spin up. The psychological impact of this cannot be overstated. Imagine being a Pakistani pilot sitting in the briefing room. Suddenly, the ground shakes, the power cuts out, and the emergency alarms start blaring. You run outside and see smoke.
Because you have no clue. It's a precision strike. It goes through the building. You can feel it through the building, but it just targets its main goal. It targets its main goal. It's insane.
Pouring from the one building that keeps the entire base functioning. You know right then and there that you are not flying today. You are not flying tomorrow. The base is dead. This explains the frantic phone call from
The maximum drugs in America comes from Mexico, but you Trumps want oil, so attacked Venezuela. If we non-Americans know this, why you don't know this? Oh, dude, it's obvious. It's obvious, but the Venezuelans don't care, and Mexico is now tiptoeing around the situation because their president is also in leagues with the cartels. So, and guess what? Venezuela is far further, far more difficult to get to. If someone in our backyard sees us take out Maduro, how do you think the president of Mexico is actually going to feel? It makes them quiver. It makes them more afraid, and it makes them actually capitulate. They'll actually come to the table. It's obvious, but nobody cares about the oil. It just like, because if the people are happy, that's all that really matters. That's all that really matters. And again, it's all about what makes the nation stronger. Just like India attacked Pakistan and destroyed the military base, it proves that India has more strength, right? It proves that it has more strength. A quick strategic attack right here. They could have waited and then been, oh, we were attacked, we can now fight back. But no, they did a strategic attack. They did what was best for India. Exactly. They didn't wait to be hit like India normally does. India normally waits to, what the heck is wrong with this? India normally waits to get hit, and then guess what? Then they retaliate after the fact, push people off their border. No, you don't do that because that's a sign of weakness. That's a sign of weakness. You always show strength.
Pakistani DGMO, Director General of Military Operations, to his Indian counterpart. When the Pakistani military leadership assessed the damage, they realized India had not just poked them. India had systematically dismantled their ability to wage war from their southern sector. With Shahbaz offline, the entire southern flank of Pakistan was exposed. They had no air cover for their naval assets in Karachi. They had no interceptors to stop further Indian incursions. The escalation dominance had shifted entirely to New Delhi.
And yet India constantly gets attacked. What does that tell you? Nobody lays foot on American soil because they're afraid of America. Nobody's afraid of India because India doesn't do anything to prevent that kind of stuff. Now, if India invaded a nation far, like somewhere in Britain, like they took over Britain, what do you think the rest of the world would think about that incident? What do you think? Everyone would be more hesitant and more careful when dealing with India. But instead, India's just seen as the pacifist in everything. And that's something I don't like. The whole Gandhi crap is absolutely idiotic. Sorry, the video. Absolutely idiotic. You need to defend yourself and you need to do preemptive strike. You have to. That's why I love the surgical strike. They had intel, and guess what? India did something that needed to be done. Even though nothing happened to them yet, they knew something was going to happen, so they did it first. It's just a show of strength. It just makes more sense. Instead of waiting to get attacked and losing your citizens' lives, it's better to just cut the head off the snake. It's better to just cut the head off the snake before it bites you.
Realized that if they continued the fight, India would simply dismantle their remaining bases, Sargodha, Minas, Rafigi, using the same methodology. They were staring at the total demilitarization of their air force, not through air-to-air losses, but through ground-based infrastructure.
Yeah, not going to invade anybody. That's the problem. It's like, it needs to stop this kind, like this stuff needs to happen more often. They need to have intelligence. They need to be able to stop it before anything happens. And then that's just it. And when the world comes to them as to why they did the attack, they could just say we had prior intel and it's our intelligence agencies and we don't have to disclose anything. That's simple. Just give enough to the people who are asking questions to let them know, okay, maybe there's something there. But you have to make the rest of the world afraid. You have to. You absolutely have to. Because India's seen as a punching bag. It always has been seen as a punching bag. And it's not the people's fault. It's the fact that the nation doesn't really do anything to prove itself. I mean, sure, it's got some of the smartest people. Sure, it's got some of the biggest defense military in the world. Sure, it's got some of the biggest innovations, especially in recent years. But that doesn't change the fact that nobody sees the nation as powerful, because a nation is shown through its strength by what it's willing to do to protect its people. What it's willing to do to protect its people. And like someone like me, when I realize like there's different laws for different people, that just makes me roll my eyes to the whole thing, because it's like, you're not putting your people first. You're separating them from each other. You're making them fight amongst themselves. That shouldn't be the case. This war allowed Trump to put Pakistan on leash, so it was good for him. Yeah, Trump just wants what's best for the U.S. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about anything else. And again, that's how most people should be. Indians should not care about what affects any other nation except for India. They should only care about what is best for India. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. The way China does it, the way Russia does it, the way America's doing it, that's just how it should be. You can't be a world power if you don't view your own nation as the most important in the world. And I'm not wrong about that. I'm not.
kills. The interesting fact is, while the DGMO were discussing halting of hostilities, India was hitting air.
Yeah, fed up with the Gandhian ideology. Yeah, yeah, because people want to be able to defend themselves. People are tired of being seen as the kid to be bullied on the playground. Nobody wants to be the kid being bullied on the playground. So when you get to high school, you change up, you go to the gym, and then you start punching down on everyone that bullied you. That's just how it is. That's just how it is.
Airbase after airbase, in total 12 Pakistan Air Force bases at Rafiki, Murid, Chaklala, and Rahim Yar Khan Air.
Yeah, yeah. When Congress gets destroyed, we will be soon superpower. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. India has fought for everything it has because America was trying to prevent it from becoming a nuclear power. Yet India still succeeded because some of the bright minds there. Every single step India has fought for. Every single step. The problem is India still refuses to take the first step of retaliation. It looks like it's getting there because probably like 10 years ago, India would have never done something like this, an actual direct attack on a military airbase, even with the intelligence. Am I wrong saying that? Yeah, that seems about pretty accurate. Now that India is viewing India as its top priority and not having to tiptoe about how everyone else feels about them, India is going to become far more powerful and far more respected among the other world powers because it's going to be seen itself as a world power.
The strikes also targeted military sites in Sukkur and Chunian, a radar installation in Pasrur, the Sialkot aviation base, and other air bases at Skadu, Sargodha, and Bolari. What Pakistan thought India would do, India was doing while DGMO were negotiating. That is why they begged for a ceasefire. They needed time to breathe, to bring in mobile generators, to clear the debris. They were beaten not by superior numbers in the air, but by superior intelligence and precision targeting that exploited the specific vulnerabilities of their infrastructure. This Apple Maps imagery is a historical document. It freezes in time the moment when the balance of power on the subcontinent shifted permanently. It shows that India no longer needs to engage in symmetric warfare. They don't need to match plane for plane. They have the capability.
Yeah, you are spot on. Just after the right-wing government is in power, it's changing. Yeah, because what's wrong with a nation thinking that its nation should be first? I don't like this ideology that everyone should be friends. Sure, you can get along with your neighbor, but that doesn't mean you have to be best friends with them. You don't need to invite them over for a barbecue potluck. No, invite your actual friends over, but just have them be your neighbor. You can yell at them for not cutting their grass, for trimming your side of the hedge, or for cutting down your lemon tree because it was hanging over into their yard. That's the kind of stuff. It's absolutely insane that everyone's like, oh, we need to be friends. We need to be friends. It's like kumbaya with everyone. No, absolutely not. Who wants to view everyone in the world as their best friend? I know I don't. I absolutely know I don't. I have a very small, tight-knit community, and that's the thing. Everyone has their biases. Everyone has their own choices. Everyone has their own types of groups of friends, which they also types of groups of friends that they will act different with. Just like each nation, when it meets with other political leaders, the political leaders act differently towards each of them, depending on their standing, depending on how they view that other person, depending on it. It's the exact same thing. You should never want every single nation to be buddy-buddy. There's no such thing. No such thing as like a kumbaya neighbors. It's just knowing they're there, respecting their decisions to do with their house and their property, what they want, but you do yours. Yes, sometimes they're blasting their music and being incredibly loud, and then you basically have to go over and talk to them. But yeah, I mean, I like using like a playground analogy for nations or like neighbors or things like that, because that just makes more sense. Look at USA. It's not friends with anyone. It just praise and intimidate. Yeah. Yeah, it basically, because Trump, when he got in office, he knew America was the top. Well, it wasn't the top at the time, but it was at one point, and his goal was to put it back there. Everyone's afraid that the food and resources that come from the U.S. will be taxed like crazy, and then they'll have to pay extra for it. So they're the tariffs, they're all this stuff that's in place that just makes things harder for other people, makes them unhappy. But then again, it also makes them capitulate to his demands because they want to get stuff on the cheap.
To reach deep into enemy territory and simply turn off the switch. The hole in that roof is a message: we know where your power lies and we can take it away whenever we choose. Operation Sindoor will be studied in military academies for decades as the perfect example of effects-based operation. You don't destroy the enemy, you destroy the enemy's ability to operate.
Yep.
And as we look at the scorched remains of the Shahbaz Energy Center in 2026, the silence of that airbase speaks louder than any bomb blast. It is the silence of a threat that was neutralized before it could even take flight.
दुनिया में इस टाइम पर एक
Whoops, that was not supposed to pop up yet. But yeah, I like that. Because that's the thing. That's the type of stuff you need. You need those types of attacks. You need that kind of power. You need to show that kind of power to the world. Even when the other nations like saying, oh, that didn't happen. No, that's not likely to happen. You need that. You need to show a sign of strength. You have to view as your nation the top priority. That means you can't visit other nations. That means you don't hate other nations. That means you just believe your nation is number one. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because if you're living in a nation, you want it to be the best it can be. Like in the U.S., the problem is, like, my money is going to people who aren't even citizens, living their best life, driving expensive cars, living in nice houses, getting paid by my tax dollars because the system was completely broken. And now it needs to be fixed. Now these people need to be thrown out, the people who do not belong here, who never belonged here because they hate this nation. And nobody wants someone who hates their nation to be living in their nation. We have good plans in coming years, thanks to Modi. How do you say it? Modi. Okay.
You guys got a video? Why is it so bad?
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Why is it like that?